There's so many big questions in global education, one of which has been highlighted throughout the last 6 or 7 months in particular, is diversity. Do we have enough representation in education? Do we have enough representation higher up in leadership in education globally? Do you have a staff room or a faculty that are diverse to allow students to learn from different perspectives? That is what this show is all about. Welcome to Ed Talks Live. So thank you for joining us. We've got people from around the world that I can see, the UK, the US, Dubai as well. So it's great to see people joining us from across the globe. My name is Ivo and I'm here to help connect the dots in the global conversation that we're going to be hosting today, which is all about diversity in education. This is particularly important because we are starting to see a shift from what we would have considered the past cultural norms to now global perspectives. This is something that has been questioned time and time again throughout history, but we are definitely seeing a movement, a positive movement for change, and we've been starting to see that both in society and in education over the past few months. So let's see if we can further contribute towards that by making sure we bring some thought leaders together to view their opinions and share their thoughts and ideas on this topic. So, tonight's show, Sunday the 4th of October, it's all about diversity. Our two guests are Kirsty Stubbs, she's from the UK, and Hedreich Nichols, who is from the USA. We are also joined by a very diverse faculty, again from all corners of the globe, Dr. Michelle Pledger, Cornell Ellis, Jacob Sule, Timothy Jones, Annelouise Jordan, Edgar Palacios, Sharifah Lee, Chris Quinn, and Michael Crawford, PhD. So, without further ado, let's catch up with the staff room, shall we? How's it going, everyone? I like it. A bit of life in you. Great stuff. I'm going to pass the torch on to Michael, who's also going to be co-hosting the show and the staff room. Michael, over to you.
Thanks, Ivo. Hey, everyone. Great to be here as well for this episode 5 of Ed Talks Live. My name is Michael Crawford. I am the co-founder of edspace.live, social learning network, the world of education, and always happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Kirsty Stubbs. I'm really surprised I got asked to come back after my dreadful performance in the quiz last week. And believe you me, I'm not going to be mentioning potatoes. I'm a head teacher from the UK and I'm really excited about the chat tonight.
I'm Hedreich Nichols. I am a head teacher and course writer for North Texas Public Charter and host of Small Bites, and most recently an author. I did not get to bomb the quiz, but I am looking way forward to crushing you guys red tape today with Sharifah. Yeah.
I'm Michelle, and I am the Director of Liberation at High Tech High's Graduate School of Education. I also teach in our MED program, induction program, and teaching apprentice program, and I'm excited for whatever this quiz is going to be. It's about to go down.
Hey everybody, my name is Cornell. I'm the co-founder and executive director of Brothers Liberating Our Communities. It's a nonprofit organization aimed at increasing the number of Black men inside of education spaces. Looking forward to winning the quiz. Go Purple Team.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob. I'm the Chief Executive of I Read to Live Initiative, a non-profit organization advocating for global goals education, particularly improving diversity and inclusion of every young person in Africa and in Nigeria. I'm happy to join this show today. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Annelouise Jordan and I'm Deputy Head and Synco of a British School in Madrid, although obviously my accent, not Spanish, unfortunately. I had something really nice to say about Sharifah being back, but I think I'm going to leave that one because we're going to win and we're going to beat you in this quiz.
Buenos dias, everyone. My name is Edgar Palacios. I am from Kansas City, Missouri in the United States. I run an organization here called the Latinx Education Collaborative, and we work on increasing the representation of Latino education professionals in K-12. And the red team will win.
Edgar just had to he had to have a say. It will be purple team today, and in fact, I did a show this morning on kindness, and Annelouise, be kind. In fact, we will be kinder by winning this, and well done, purple team. I'm a senior leader about 20 miles out of London in the UK, grew up and was raised in Singapore, and I'm just so pleased to be here.
Good morning or good evening. My name is Timothy Jones, Chief Visionary Officer of Hip Hop Ed, owner and operator of Techniques for Learning, live in Maryland, but born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Purple team all day. Hashtag get it. Hashtag we already won. Hashtag let's have some fun.
Good day, everyone. My name is Chris Quinn. I am in Ontario, Canada. Recently retired after 30 years in education, working as a district coordinator as well as a classroom teacher. And I am still very committed to supporting teachers globally. Delighted to be here.
Guys, thank you very much. We're going to be jumping into the staff room in just a few moments after we've caught up with our first guest. But before that, we've just heard from everyone in the faculty, in the staff room, about where they're from. Why don't you drop us a message in the live chat? Let us know where you're from and what you're currently up to, and get yourself involved in the actual show itself. During the show, there's also an opportunity to get involved in the 2 live polls that we're going to be putting on. They both relate to the topic of focus for this evening, which is diversity. And there will be a code that comes up that allows you to get involved in the poll straight away. Our faculty are then going to also respond to the poll results, making sure that the message is authentic and genuine, because that's what we want. We want to make sure that by the end of the show, everyone is left with something that they can move forward with positively. So, let's jump straight into the first poll. Okay, you need to visit menti.com. The code is 7671892. And the first question, how diverse is the faculty at your school? I know we have both teachers and students who are joining us this evening, so feel free for everyone to participate in this poll, guys. Okay? 7671892. Straight off the bat, we've got people voting in. We're going to revisit those results after we've caught up with our very first guests. Okay, let me just make sure that is correct. Okay, so our first guest is Kirsty Stubbs. Kirsty, I'm not sure what's happened there. Sorry, my mistake. Let me just see what's going on with that image. I'm sorry about that. Kirsty is a head teacher from the UK, co-creator of Equity in Education. You can follow her on Twitter, the Tattooed Head Teacher. You can find out some more information on her website at empowering-equity-in-education.com. Kirsty is with us now from the UK. Kirsty, how are you doing?
I'm okay, actually. I was a little bit nervous this afternoon, but now I've realised that all anybody's really bothered about is the quiz. It takes the pressure off me, so I'm okay.
Brilliant. I mean, to be honest, they're all coming to see the guests, really. The quiz is just the icing on the cake. So thank you very much for joining us as a guest. Now, you've got a lot of experience in supporting both equity and diversity in education. So first of all, can you tell everyone a little bit about what you're currently doing?
Okay, so as you said, I'm a head teacher. I have been for 10 years. I'm currently head teacher of a large primary with about, well, over 600 pupils. In the town I was actually born, it's amazing, although the community's really changed. I've got 3 children, just a little bit of personal information. 2 of them are in the 20s, but my youngest is 4, and she's dual heritage. It's not the only reason that I'm really passionate about equity, but it has certainly made me view things in a different light. I created a website to help other educators, because I think sometimes you don't know where to start, and that's with some other colleagues, including a few that have been guests on here previously, because I just think that education, above every other industry or sector, surely should be a place of equality. You know, if we don't get it right there, then there's no hope, is there? So my personal journey started probably about 4 years ago, when I was really interested in mental health, and that led me to realise that there were groups of people in my community and the wider community that weren't represented in my school, be that the curriculum, the environment, the resources. And I knew I had to do something about that, because for me, a sense of belonging is integral in achieving your potential. So we've made lots of progress, because we really have focused on the resources that we use, the curriculum as a whole, the literature. So I know that children now see themselves across the whole school, and that they have a place. But I think probably about 9 months ago, I started realising that it's not just about the pupils, it's about the staff. And I started looking at the representation within my staff team. And I analysed really. I looked at gender, age, I looked at ethnicity. And I had to ask some questions of myself, really. Because my view was that if there isn't a good representation within my staff team, within my leadership at all levels, why is that? Because if there is equality, then there shouldn't be an issue with representation. So that made me understand more, I guess, that inequality still exists, and I am in a position of privilege to be able to do something about that. So the kind of things, oh bless, sorry, I can see somebody in the staff room, their sons just said hello. I think, you know, there are certain things we can do, and certain questions we can ask ourselves that will support redressing the balance, in my view. So some of the questions I started asking myself were things like, was I giving the same opportunity to every single member of staff within my organisation? Was I encouraging people that perhaps in the past had experienced inequality to access these the CPD and development and leadership development that was there? Was I attracting the right people? Was I attracting a diverse range of candidates to each position that I might have? And that might, you know, when you're applying for a job, you look at the website, you look at the actual environment of the place that you're thinking of working in. So I think about, would somebody walking through the door think, yeah, I would be supported here, I would be valued, I would be represented, and that's key to me. Things like, how are you shortlisting? Are you doing it blind, or are you doing it with a panel that perhaps may have some unconscious bias towards certain names? Things like, you've probably heard of the Rooney Rule in business, and that was something that I think it started, somebody will tell me I'm wrong, in American football. And it wasn't about positive discrimination. It was about saying, do you know what, for every job, you've got to at least interview somebody of, and it might be, you have to interview somebody from ethnic minorities, it might be a male, a female, depending what your makeup is of your current workplace. But it was just about shortlisting them. You had to interview them. You didn't have to give them the job, but actually over time, in American football, they found that representation suddenly improved because seeing people that haven't necessarily had access to before. And I think that's something that we need to think about in our organisations. Am I waffling on now?
That's cool. I mean, you know, it's not that you're waffling on. I mean, you know, you didn't give me a chance to actually ask you the other questions because you kind of done it all in one go, which goes to show you really know your stuff. So thank you very much. And some of those insights, honestly, as someone from the UK as well, Kyrstie, I'm aware that diversity within education is not always a priority to the people who lead schools. So thank you very much for your inspirational message. We are going to just quickly check the poll results before jumping into the staff room. Let's have a look at the poll results. So at the moment, the poll results are telling us that we have 40% of people have said little or no diversity. 20% of people, well, let's go to the next one. 40% of people said little or no diversity. 40% of people said national. We have staff from various backgrounds in the country, and then we didn't have any for number 3, and then we had 20% saying that we have staff from all 6 continents. Okay, so it's 40, very bottom heavy really. You've got 40% at one end, and then at the other end, 20%. And we do have an audience from around the globe. So, staff room. How do you feel about that? I'm going to pass this on to Michael, who's going to be running through the first round of feedback.
Wonderful, thanks. Yeah, thank you, Kirstie, for your thoughts. Really appreciated the self-awareness and the reflection and asking those questions. That feels really important. Michelle, what did you take from Kirstie's words or from the poll? What struck you?
Yeah, I mean, Kirstie's spot on that, like, it has to be intentional if we really want diverse representation to happen. And we recently went through this process this year with our research team where we were doing a lot of hiring and wanted to make sure that it was equitable and transparent. And that was the whole, like, that's whether the person gets the job or not. We wanted everyone who went through the process to feel like, okay, this was an equitable and transparent process. We focused a lot on stacking the deck for equity by nudging and encouraging qualified BIPOC or people of color to apply and posting and sharing their job in all kinds of diverse networks, right? We really wanted to over-communicate to applicants the process, the timeline, just so that everything was clear. If there was a situation where there were friendships and people were trying to get hired, we set really clear boundaries, like I didn't interview if I knew it was a person that I had a close relationship with. We wanted to make sure the whole team that was doing the interview process was also diverse. And this is a really important one, is focusing on competencies versus experience, because a lot of times people from privileged backgrounds might have more access to prestigious opportunities or roles, but that doesn't mean that people from less privileged backgrounds don't possess the competencies that we valued as an organization. So I think that's important. We like to build in an element of a blind review process, kind of like Kirstie was mentioning, like when you get down towards the end, so that it's just, again, trying to reduce as much bias as possible and ensure greater equity. And then we spent time reflecting throughout the process, like, how is it going? How can we be more equitable? How can we be more transparent? And in the end, it was an arduous process, but something that we could feel really good about in knowing how equitable we were in trying to get our diverse representation. And it worked out, so yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. I hope y'all were paying attention to that. Go back and watch it later. There are nuggets in there, so thanks for sharing that. Edgar, you run an organization that puts equity at the front of your work. What struck you about Kirstie's comments?
I think first and foremost, Kirstie said about the sense of belonging, how it's integral to a student's education. And we see the data, particularly in an American construct, right? Where if students see themselves reflected by the teachers that serve them, they're going to have better educational outcomes long term. And every student benefits from having an exposure to a diverse teaching staff, right? But I think also on these conversations, we often talk about recruitment. When we talk about the recruiting of diverse professionals in these spaces, we rarely talk about retention in these conversations. And recruitment is just one small part of this equation. We also have to create the spaces where teachers, to use Kirstie's words, feel supported, feel valued, feel represented, and they're able to create the culture or are able to participate in a culture that allows them to be who they are, and that values that whatever diversity they're bringing to the table. And so one of my biggest concerns in these conversations is it's not just about recruiting, and again, in American construct, teachers of color, it's also about retaining them, because the data actually shows, particularly for the Latino community here, is that we actually do really well with recruiting Latino teachers. We are terrible with retaining them. And so there is pipeline issues there.
What a important piece of this, right? I mean, the retaining, recruiting, supporting, nurturing is really important. Annelouise, what are your thoughts?
Just really thanks, Kirsty, for everything that you were saying, and to Michelle and Edgar, what you were saying also. It's about making sure that they stay. And I was watching the Women Ed conference yesterday, and Aretha from Mindful Equity actually said this, that she had one full year when she was on a diverse leadership team. And she said that for that year, she felt that she found her tribe. She felt more able to have her say and share her ideas. And we need to remember that diversity is a full spectrum here, and you mentioned it, Kirsty, with gender, race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, which is why I'm not entirely concerned, yes, but the 40% with little or no diversity, it's so big. Diversity is massive, and if you think 1 in 20 people have a disability, visible or invisible, that's a lot of people. And that don't show it, you know. I have a disability. I don't show it. It's an invisible one. Also about sexual orientation. Not everybody comes to an interview and says, right, well, I'm just like, I'm gay or whatever. They don't. So a lot of diversity is unspoken, and it's really about having those conversations, making sure they're fully represented. And when you're doing an interview, that you're walking around the school and they can see it. And again, just to quote Aretha from yesterday, it's not laminated diversity. You've not just got nice pictures on the wall. You can see it. It's there. And you have that conversation at interview stage, and you're saying, we're a diverse school because A, B, C, D, and E. You're making it clear. This is who we are. We have a head teacher that's gay. We have whatever it is, but you're bringing that to light. And I think that's really important, that we open the conversations and we're proud of it.
That's great. Thanks, Annelouise. I love the thinking about the range of diversity. What do we actually mean when we say that word? What is included, who is included, and how? I think it's really important. Chris, what do you say as a newly retired educator and school leader? How does this hit you?
Thanks, Michael. Kirsty, I just want to start by saying I really thank you for your honesty and your candidness in terms of what you shared and the kinds of questions you're asking yourself and staff. I think those are critically important. You started, I think, by talking about we spend a lot of time as classroom teachers focusing on, I think we do, and we do this fairly effectively in terms of focusing on diversity and inclusion in our classrooms. But I really think, implementing effective HR policies and practices for increasing diversity of our educator workforce is really just the beginning. To foster real change, a commitment to diversity has to be embedded in school and district culture. For me, it has to do with mindset. Where is our mindset in relation to diversity in terms of our practices as adults, as educators? And I think you mentioned as well, students see what we're doing. What we model is critically important in our schools and across our districts. And so that diversity element is critically important as well.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, from Kirsty to Staffroom guests, so much wisdom and great perspectives from a wide range of folks. So I appreciate that. Ivo, back to you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for your insights. It's great to see people adding so much value to the conversation so early on in the show. I really appreciate it. We're just going to go back to the poll results very quickly just to see what's going on. So we've had a few more people participate. If you have just joined us for the show, please feel free to participate in the poll that you can see on the screen at the moment. It is going to stay live for the next 5 minutes or so. How diverse is the faculty at your school? So right now, the grading was out of 4. 1 being little or no diversity, working its way all the way up to an international cohort with staff from all 6 continents. And we're currently at 33% at number 1, at the bottom end of the scale, little or no diversity. 50% number 2 at national, and then no 3s working towards international, and then 4 being international at 17%, so still very bottom heavy. We are now going to be educated by our resident EdTech expert, Erica Sandstrom, who's going to be sharing a little bit of information about Bitmoji creation. Take it away, Erica.
Interactive Bitmoji classrooms are all the rage globally and such a fabulous tool. Let's check out 3 ways to jazz up your Bitmoji classroom and give it a voice. Number 1, use some formatting tools to customize it. For example, you could use a drop shadow, it up with a GIF or GIF. Find some animated GIFs like arrows, or even make your Bitmojis come alive, and speech bubbles, and many other things. Third tool that is just fabulous is the crop tool. You can insert a picture of a student, for example, Star of the Week. Just click the arrow to the right of the crop tool and choose any shape. It also works with GIFs or GIFs. Also, it's really easy to right-click and change the picture. Number 2, add voice memos. Add voice memos to explain each part of the classroom. Voiceovers are powerful for understanding directions. But most of all, the students feel so much comfort when they hear your voice. You can even add funny things you often say with a little icon so they can click on it, or a favorite sound effect, or a morning song. You can make it automatically play when they open up the classroom for the day. That will really wake them up. Number 3, create a green screen tour of a classroom, starring you, of course. How great would that be for the kids to see you? Don't have a green screen? No problem. Create a video introduction for each day of the week, or maybe once a week. You can store these in your Google Drive, as students can revisit previous days to catch up or review.
Thank you very much, Erica. Love your videos. Really appreciate the contributions that you make to the show and sharing some insights on how to be creative whilst in the classroom to promote a little bit of student engagement. Thank you again. So as we move on to the second part of the show, we're going to be asking our second and final question for all the audience to participate in. The poll question that's going to come up, let me just change it. There you go. So the second poll question that's now up is, what student traits are developed through teaching diversity in the classroom? So exposing students to diverse cultures, allowing students to understand global perspectives, diversity in the curriculum. What are the types of traits that are developed? This is a word cloud poll for this one, so you can have up to 5 words that pop into your mind. Have a think about those traits. The students who are joining us, if you're in a school that promotes diversity within the curriculum, let us know what you think as well. And we'll jump back into the poll to see that word cloud right after we've spoken to our next guest. She is an author, a North Texas educator and course designer, and the host of #SmallBites, which is her show on YouTube. I'd like to welcome to our show Hedreich Nichols. Hedreich, are you there?
Hi there, Evo. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well. Thank you very much for joining us, Hedreich. So, what time is it in Texas right now?
10:30 in Texas, y'all.
10:30 in Texas, y'all. So, that's, I mean, considering it is 10:30, it's like 7:30 here in Dubai. You're only really starting off your day. Wishing you a productive day. But before you crack on with that, tell us and tell everybody a little bit about your work and what you get up to.
Well, going to the poll, I am fortunate to teach in a very diverse school with a diverse staff, which is really wonderful. I've learned lots of things from all different cultures. I'm at a campus that really celebrates and includes all kinds of culture and just great stuff. We had to talk about things like Jacob, you'll know this, with the fufu stick this week and what that means to moms across the world. At any rate, the thing about diversity in Texas is, although I teach at a very diverse school, our state is diverse, 53% Hispanic, 13% Black students in our public schools. However, our politics are not necessarily inclusive. And as a teacher who grew up in the first generation of integrated schools in Houston, it gave me a kind of a unique perspective on experiencing that, first in the classroom and then further as a teacher, and then in Switzerland as an international teacher. I call myself an OBF, one Black friend, because I was the lone person. If you've seen Small Bites, you can see the beginning. I show a class picture, and I'm the lone little girl, lone little Black kid in third grade, and that was kind of it put me on a journey. And a couple of years ago, I began to wonder, what does this mean? I ended up being there. Then I ended up in Switzerland, where I was not only the only Black teacher on staff, I was the only Black person in the county, for probably about 7,500 miles. And then I moved back to Texas, and I ended up teaching at a Lutheran private school, and also very low diversity. So again, I started to really, I guess the 2016 election cycle made me question, why am I continually on this point, and what can I do with this information? I had the privilege to be a voice at the table in situations where diversity was not only, it wasn't even a thought. So the questions that I got were not questions about how can we be more inclusive. They were, what, we don't say engines no more? No, we kind of don't do that. And so there were just so many things that now there's an actual Webster word, microaggressions, things about my hair, or things about Black culture, or just things about the language. I've been called, the first year I went to college, the little girl behind me, young woman behind me, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I never met a colored before." And this was in the 80s. This is not, back in the 60s. I'm not that old. So, again, I've started to use that information, and I think I understand a little bit about Kyrstie. I'm also a mom, and my son is also of dual heritage. He is, however, a Black man of dual heritage. This is the year that he got taller than me. This is the year that his facial hair became very dark. This is the year that he stopped wearing his little ringlets in some kind of tamed way and started, looking like a real cool musician. And this is the year that I discovered that Texas politics are not inclusive and not always accepting of diversity. And I found that out in some very ugly ways that, as a mama bear, caused me to develop Small Bites and caused me to amp up. I was writing a book on diversity for a while, but you know how I'm writing a book and you kind of get to it, don't get to it. It made it urgent. And it made it also urgent for me as a teacher to begin to look at diversity in my school. Because, hey, I know I do diversity. I've been the only student. However, the students I teach are 73% Hispanic. And of the Black students on that campus, they are multinational. So I began to also look at how I'm teaching, not only as power to the people, not only that part of it, but also looking at how we're inclusive in other ways. You know, last year when students came to me and said, hey, we have a GSA, a Gay Student Alliance, on the high school level, but what about us on the middle school level? Then I knew that I could support that, and that was a big part of work in diversity. And when my kids who have very different heritage, especially second generations, just generational kids in Switzerland, when I taught there, we said, use the word secondo. And when you leave your country, you leave your home to come to another country, you have ideals for your children that are often much higher than the people who kind of take America for granted. And my parents who are from African nations, they don't play. And so I began to find out more about the cultures of Ghana, of Congo, of Nigeria, of Eritrea, of Somalia, so that I could make my students feel at home. And that's something I think that I'm really glad that Ed Talks is talking about, global diversity, because as a Black American, things are often very black and white. But diversity is not black and white. Diversity has, you know, as Annelouise said, it has to do with so many things. Are we inclusive of students who have ADHD, which is one of those popular invisible disabilities? But it's a disability, you know, and we just kind of, oh, he's fine, oh, he's lazy, oh, he's not. No, it's a disability. And how are we including these students to make them feel accepted and to make them feel like they are not somehow second-class students? And how are we including students who may look Black American, or they're Black on a census or a census survey, but they're not, they don't have the same heritage experience. When I talk to my kids from Somalia, their background is very different from mine. And so there's some places that we are the same, some places that we are different. So this summer, I had a chance to be on a think tank from global educators about recruiting and retaining diverse staff. I work, like I said, my district is largely Hispanic, but our teaching staff is not. And so how do we go about recruiting Hispanic, Latinx teachers and administrators? How do we go about you can't tell me that there is not one Somali educator in all of Texas. But I do not see Muslim staff represented. And we need to start thinking broader than just Black or white, or Black, white, Hispanic, or that's why I like Black, white, BIPOC. I like that because it includes everything. And then to go beyond that, and then to talk about how people experience gender and how people experience ability and disability.
Absolutely.
And, I'm just really glad that this year is all about including all kinds of people in all the ways that we express ourselves diversely.
Absolutely. And I mean, what a strong message, bringing your heritage in, bringing your past in, bringing your family into it as well. You've really given a rounded experience that's hopefully going to kind of ring a couple of bells in people's minds if they're watching this. We really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your experiences, Hedreich. I wonder what the staff room's going to say about this. Before we jump into the staff room, I'm going to look at the poll really quickly. So the poll, what student traits are developed through teaching diversity in the classroom? The strong ones, the ones that really stand out at the moment: kindness, compassion and empathy. We've also got a bunch of other things: open-mindedness, student voice, respect for all, positivity, respect, divergent thinking, inquirer listening. Lots of different terms and traits, positive traits, if we make sure that we are diverse when we deliver our curriculum. For everyone who's contributing towards that, please continue to do so. I'm going to jump into the staff room to see what some of our faculty have to say. Michael, over to you.
Thanks, Ivo. Thanks also, Hedreich, for that wisdom. the idea of learning about your students and their heritage to help them feel at home. I think that's critical for students, and it's as critical for staff as well, from folks from different places with different perspectives. Really important to help them feel like where they're working is deserving of them and is at home for them as well. So Jacob, what did you take from Hedreich's comment?
Yeah, thank you, Michael and Hedreich, for that wonderful presentation. Hedreich has been able to answer the 3 questions of why, how, and what in education and embracing diversity. Hedreich has been able to understand why children of colors have left their countries to different parts of the world to study, which is for them to learn and to become globally competitive from where they're coming from. And then how she has been able to show passion and empathy to students, regardless of their colors and skin. She's been able to learn their culture. She even pronounced some names, like she recognized African nations, and she's been able to do that excellently well. And then what she has been able to lead deliberately, not just because I want to lead because I'm an African American, but then she's shown passion and empathy. So for me, in conclusion, Hedreich is a perfect example of an inclusive teacher. She has an absolute balanced background on diversity and culture. And then she's been able to make emphasis to ensure that staffs are being retained and then to teach students about their culture. Then in summary, Hedreich represents an ideal teacher that has empathy to impact students regardless of their race, their colors, and their skin. And I must say that I'm a huge fan of you being an African, and for my background on policy as a law graduate, I think you're doing so well. And then I will tell your stories to all Nigerians and also encourage people to see you as an ambassador for diversity. Thank you very sincerely for sharing your thoughts on that. I appreciate that.
Jacob, put it all in a package with a nice bow on top. That was perfect. Thank you, sir. Sharifah, what struck you about Hedreich's comments?
Hi, Michael. I mean, yeah, what you just said, and you're right, but what Jacob said, it was like a gift, all in a nutshell as well. That was brilliant. And Hedreich, that was quite inspirational, all your words actually. And I reflect, because yes, you're like Annelouise, I was at a Women Ed conference. In fact, the conference goes on even today, and something that stood out, and I can only talk about the UK, and I'd love to talk about the global perspective as well, and we're limited by time. And in the UK, we talk about diverse classrooms. Some schools are further on in their journey than others are. Kirsty School, for one, is definitely way ahead than some of us. There's always room to improve. Statistics, some of them can drum up some things. And yesterday, what I discovered is, in the 2011 census in the UK, about 86% of the population identify themselves as white, and over 96% of head teachers in the UK are white. That is there's such a huge gap. In fact, 97.1, and I've got numbers in my head now just because I think, oh my goodness, we need to do something about this. 97.1% of head teachers in the UK are white, male white. And yet 86% of the population are white. And again, so what about the 14% who are diverse, who identify themselves of a variety of ethnicity? And I know in the US, you call it BIPOC. In the UK, we call it BAME. We also have issues around the terms itself, but I think we need to almost take away those terms. Don't think too much about them now, because we do have a problem. We have a problem, and we must all come up with the solutions. It is not good enough. What we're doing in our schools in the UK, some of us are doing better than others, but we must work together, because there is an underlying, I think, fear and anxiety. And I'm sorry I'm taking time, but over the weekend, a very popular supermarket chain in the UK called Sainsbury's, they are celebrating Black History Month. And oh my goodness me, they are asking people, come and celebrate with us. And the pushback on Twitter of mainly white pockets of the population who deny this, who say, I will boycott Sainsbury's, I will not shop there, how dare they? It's about British history, it's not about Black history. I think it is about educating everyone, and I think it must start with schools. I think education is key, and I'm so glad all of us are here, and I'm glad I can see on screen now, on my phone as well, all the educators there, and I think it's a powerful message, and let's use everyone's platform and all our platforms to deliver that message. That's me. Sorry, I could just go on.
Brilliant.
That's cool. Thank you.
Good, and we would love it, but we got to keep it rolling. Cornell, what are you thinking about?
Sharifah, I really appreciate your passion and the way that you deliver your message. And I think it was a great segue into what I was thinking. The problem and what's on my mind is racism. And I love being a part of this because it's a global perspective and it's a global understanding of anti-Blackness and anti-melanation, right? We know that this is an issue that doesn't just happen in the United States, doesn't just happen in the UK, it doesn't just happen in the Middle East, it happens all around the world. In places that are dominated with whiteness, in places that are dominated by white supremacy and white intentional structures. And I heard this premise come through in Kirsty and Hedreich, and I really appreciate all the wonderful words, but the self-reflection, no matter who you are, right? Kirsty had this self-reflective piece of thinking about her own biases and hiring practices and thinking about the ways that she approached a diverse and intersectionally diverse staff at her school. But I think juxtapositionally, Hedreich, you did a really great job of thinking also self-reflection, even as a person of color. What are the ways that I perpetuate white supremacy? What are the ways that I perpetuate self-hate and internalized racial oppression? And what are the ways that I can look beyond just the color of my skin and think about the culture and ethnicities of my students and of my staff to be able to be truly justice-centered in my work? And so it's really inspirational and also heartbreaking, right? We think about racism as a global struggle, but we also know that there are people just like all of us. Yeah, you guys hear my little man, he's hanging out. There are people just like all of us who are fighting all around the world against this white supremacist structure.
Thanks, Cornell.
Thanks for tying it in. Just making clear the global nature of what we're talking about here.
Michael, I want to just pause you for a minute. We have our very first junior staff room member who's come to say hello. Hello, what's your name, buddy?
Say hi.
Hello.
He likes forks. These are his favorite toy.
What's your little boy's name, Connor?
This is Leon.
Leon.
Welcome.
Thank you for
welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for gracing us with your presence.
You might have to get Leon his own spot here.
He's international baby now.
Yeah, he is. This guy's going to be big. This guy's going big. Oh, and there's another one.
The second one. Different sizes here, but
it's all about diversity, Michael. It's all about diversity.
Always welcome on Ed Talks. We are not ageist here at Ed Talks.
Not at all.
All forms of diversity, including age. So, Timothy, take us home.
Well, there's so much being said, and just a couple of quick points. To the poll question, the first word that I wrote down that I actually didn't see in the word cloud was confidence. And I wanted to highlight that because being Black and going through K-12, where what I deemed knowledge was never included in what was presented as knowledge, so therefore the measurement that allowed me to be able to say I was intellectual often meant that I had to leave aspects of myself outside of the classroom. So that's why I said confidence. And it's interesting because a lot of the words were more aligned with being kind and being compassionate, which I will say in America can be coded for savior complex, can be coded for I'm trying to help the least of these, as opposed to seeing us all as one and the same. And I love how all of the previous guests who spoke tied their passion for their profession to their person. And until we have that experience, you can't do this work because it's the right thing to do. You have to be about this work because being about this work, you believe, brings you to a higher level of self. And until that is the case, then it's just going to come across as work as opposed to ministry. It's going to come across as a profession as opposed to passion. And so until we decide that we are not our best apart, then we're never going to master the art of what it means to be diverse. Think about it as primary and secondary colors, and throw out the term primary and secondary. There's certain colors that you don't have unless other colors come together and mix. So imagine how shallow art would be if we didn't celebrate colors beyond the ones that didn't get created through a mix. And so how can we celebrate curriculum and knowledge and wisdom that is just one palette on the canvas of how we would create art? And I'll stop there.
Yeah, I got chills, man. I'm not surprised, because this is you, and so appreciate all of that. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Evo.
Guys, it's been so inspirational hearing completely different perspectives on this topic, and I'm hoping that the viewers and the staff room themselves have picked something up that they can move forward with from tomorrow. I certainly have, as an individual who's taught in different parts of the world and struggled, in different parts of my life as well. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and your experiences with us, everyone. I really appreciate it. Right, so we heard a lot of our faculty getting excited about the quiz, which is about to come up, and it's linked to World Teachers Day, which is tomorrow, the 5th of October 2020. So for all the teachers out there, I want to wish you very quickly a great World Teachers Day celebration for tomorrow, because at the end of the day, we do need to be celebrated for the work that we do. You can see in this image that I've just put up here, Teachers Day 2020, Leading in Crisis and Reimagining the Future, which is perfectly put for exactly the type of things that we've been experiencing over the last 6 or 7 months or so, with this whole idea of hybrid learning and being locked down and so on and so forth. So congratulations to all the teachers out there, and keep striving hard. We're going to jump straight into the staff room quiz, guys. This is how we're going to end the show. We've got 2 teams. We've got the red team and we've got the purple team. Can the red team captain say hello and introduce their team?
Chris, that's you.
That's you, Chris.
Oh, I got to turn my mic on, sorry. Our team consists of Kirsty, Michelle, Edgar, and Annelouise, and myself.
Great.
Go red team.
Go Reds. Purples, can the leader introduce themselves and their team?
Can I just say, I would like everyone to look at Hedreich, because she is warming up. She's doing some neck exercises. Can you see? This is how passionate we are about this. So Hedreich is on purple with Cornell. Please give them a cheer. And there's Timothy and also Jacob. So come on, purple. Oh, Leon, wherever Leon is, you are part of the team, Leon. Let's get you on.
You can't have Leon. That's not fair. You can't just take on it like.
Hedreich, keep your earrings off, because that meant something. And we talked about diversity and understanding cultural cues. When a woman takes her earrings off, let's keep it gully. Let's go.
Okay. All right, guys, are we ready? So the way it works is there's going to be 5 questions. The first question will go to the red team, and then if they do not get it right in 20 seconds, they can converse. It will go over to the purple team. There is 1 point for a correct answer, should I say. If you are joining us live, please feel free to get a pad or grab your phone and join in the quiz. Let's see if you can beat the red team or the purple team. We'll be starting in about 5 seconds or so. Before we start, I am just going to add an instruction to the staff room. If you are not answering, please can you mute your microphones, because people get a little bit crazy with some of their responses that we have. Okay, so I'm going to ask the purples. I'm going to ask the purples to mute their microphones first. Hope you're ready. Hope you're ready at home for the quiz. Let's see if anybody can get 5 out of 5. Okay, red team, first question. Okay, are we ready? 20 seconds as soon as I finish.
We are.
Okay. Okay, it's World Teachers Day themed, okay, guys, with obviously a hint of diversity in there because we are talking about educators from across the world. So, dual themed, first question. Who among the following personalities, so I'm going to mention 4 people, who among the following personalities has not been a teacher? Okay? Maria Montessori, Stephen Hawking, Jawaharlal Nehru, Albert Einstein. So, which one has not been a teacher? Maria Montessori, Stephen Hawking, Jawaharlal Nehru, or Albert Einstein?
All right, go ahead. 20 seconds.
What do you think? So I feel like Montessori is like a trick one because she may not have been a teacher, but she created the model.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah. I'll go with that. I didn't hear the third person. I couldn't hear that person.
It's Jawaharlal Nehru.
I don't know who it is, so stay away from them.
All right, time is up. Chris, I'm coming to you, Chris. What's the final answer for the red team?
I got to go with the majority of the team. It sounds like Montessori, so we'll go with Montessori as our final answer.
Lock it in. Evo?
Okay.
It is not Maria Montessori. She not only was she a teacher, she modelled her educational practices on her teaching experience. I hope she's not listening. Okay.
I worked in a Montessori school.
So, purple team, it goes over to you.
It's okay, red team. We'll come back.
Okay, Reds, you need to mute your microphones. Purple team, go for it.
Who's the answer?
Purple team, let's unmute. Any ideas, guys?
I mean, does like graduate teaching count? Like, I'm sure Hawking taught at some point.
Einstein. Yes, I think it did. I think Einstein did.
I think it's the third one. The John.
Yeah, is it Nehru?
Yeah.
How do you spell it? Is it Nehru?
If that's how you pronounce it, is that your final answer though?
So what do you think, guys? Yeah.
Yes.
We go for Nehru. Well,
yes.
we can't lose this.
Let's
go for it.
All right.
Exactly. Let's go for it.
Right.
Okay.
So you can look out it.
Okay, here we go. We're going to roll with it. So they have locked in C, answer C, Jawaharlal Nehru, and that is the right answer. Stephen Hawking obviously was a doctor and a professor, and Albert Einstein was also a teacher as well. Although, I don't know if you know this about Albert Einstein, but he was, when he was in school, he was said to be someone who is going to be useless in society. Boy, did he prove his teachers wrong. So, well done to the purple team. 1 point to the purples. Question number 2 goes to the purples. Reds, can you mute your microphones? At home, if you got question C, I opted for Nehru. You got the answer right. Well done. Question number 2, guys. Okay.
Should you come mute?
Yeah. So, no, purple team on the ready. Okay, so...
My team. Get off to mute.
Okay,
yes,
so...
dear, thank you.
So, purple team, this might be a fairly easy one, to be honest. Among the following, which organisation inaugurated the World Teachers' Day? I said amongst the following.
I said it in the beginning.
20 seconds on the clock.
I said amongst the following, but to be honest, I think you just have to try and have a guess because
UNESCO.
He did say it at the beginning. That's right.
I'm gonna fall.
You told us that at the beginning. That's
sure did. We all knew that, so that's a point for every team.
But I mean, how many of us have been in classrooms where the teacher asks a question at the end that is based on whether you were paying attention in the beginning?
And had you been here for a previous episode or two, Evo will sometimes sprinkle in some questions from earlier in the show. So I think it's a fair question.
I think so as well. I completely agree. It's fair. We've got it. It's
Equity is about making sure that
Okay, guys, I am going to actually, I'm glad that Michael actually dropped that in, because what I don't want to end up with is none of the teams scoring any points. So I do need to obviously sprinkle in a few answers to make sure that we're going to get someone scoring. But it is UNESCO. But can I actually have a show of hands of, before I mentioned it, put your hand up if you actually knew that answer. Okay, so only a few people actually knew that answer anyway. So there you go. It's UNESCO who are the ones who inaugurated World Teachers' Day. If you got the answer right at home, please give yourself a mark.
Hedreich, you can't do that in the UK. Do it this way.
Okay. Next question goes to the red team. Question number 3. So it is 2 points to the purples at the moment. Purples, can you mute your microphones? Red team, let's see if you can pull one back. In which year?
2 points, right, Evo?
Okay.
To be, that last one was a giveaway.
In which year was the University Education Commission formed? Was it 1942, 1948, 1918, or 1912?
So there was definitely wars in 1918 and 1942. So I'm pretty sure
none of those.
Those two are out.
Those two are out. Even 1918's out.
10 seconds.
1948.
So I agree with that.
That's not fair. They got an answer given to them on a plate, and we get freaking multiple choice from 1940s. Okay, favoritism, but whatever.
All right. 1948. Final answer.
So are we going with 1948?
Sharifah, you're hilarious. Okay.
Sharifah, I'll do it the other way.
Final answer. Okay, 1948. Guys, it was a fairly easy one, this one, and I did look across it. It is 1948. Well done. Like you said about the World Wars, you can take out a bunch of the answers, but like I said, I already knew one of them wasn't going to be as difficult. So 2-1 to the purples. Question number 4. Where are we going to here?
For the purple team.
Okay. Oh, this is actually going to be quite a difficult. This is going to be quite a difficult one. So for the purples, okay, this is. You need to listen. You need to listen to this because this is not. This is not easy. In 1931, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhashkarinan became the vice chancellor of which university? Now you just have to think about the university itself, okay? And if you don't know any, you're going to have to guess. This is about diversity at the end of the day. Okay, so in 1931, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhashkarinan became the vice chancellor of which university? A. Mysore University. B. Andhra University. C. Karnataka University. Or D. None of the above.
Well, good luck with that one, Purple. You got 20 seconds.
What are they again?
Okay.
All right, I'll pause. Go ahead.
So, Mysore University, Andhra University, Karnataka University, or none of the above.
And the question is, he was vice chancellor of one of these, or none of the above?
Yeah.
Yes.
He was vice chancellor of either one of those or none of the above.
In 1931.
In 1931.
I believe you just made that question up. Out of equity so that the red team can feel loved, but
This is
I
a
don't
diversity of questions.
This is a diversity of questions, guys. You know? You guys need to be a bit more diverse with your knowledge, you know what I'm saying?
What's the option?
20 seconds.
All right, time is up. Sharifa's final
None
answer.
of the above.
Right, okay, I'm going to have to go with the majority, which is going to be number 4. However, the name sounds quite Indian. It might be Mysore, number 1. But I tell you what, we'll go with majority. You happy, purple team? None of the above?
None of the above.
Yeah.
Lock it in, none of the above.
Lock it in.
First option should be the answer.
Okay. It goes to the Reds.
Can you repeat that? Is there?
It goes to the Reds. So Purples didn't get it right. Okay, so Purples, you're going to have to mute your microphone. It is one of the above. So I'll do the question again, but I'm just going to do it once, okay? In 1931, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan became the Vice-Chancellor of which university? A. Mysore University, B. Andhra University, C. Karnataka University.
What do you think, team?
Red team.
Right.
C. C.
Go with number 1. The purple team will be really upset if it's right. So that's my
That was my first thought.
I mean, I said eeny, meeny, miny, mo and came out with Antara. That was my eeny, meeny, miny, mo of the 3. It's India, so we'll go with...
Which one?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't care.
When I had a guess, I always get
Chris, you need to give the answer, mate, because you're the team captain.
Right, Chris.
right.
Edgar thinks C. I did eeny, meeny, miny, mo for B.
We'll go with C, and we'll make Sharifah feel really good if it was A. We'll go with C. Final answer.
Okay, final answer is locked in. It's actually B, guys.
Oh, my eeny, meeny, miny, mo worked.
Yeah, it's all-rounded.
Always go with eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Now, I am assuming that these answers are correct because I basically typed in World Teacher Day quiz and this is what came up. So don't blame me for how complicated the questions are. This is one of the only quizzes about World Teacher Day, guys. So we are down to, it's 2-1 still, 2 to the Purples. So we're going to have the last question, okay?
We have experts saying that it wasn't in 1931.
Okay, so last question, guys. It's going to go to the underdogs. Question number 5 goes to the underdogs. It is a very diverse question. So please listen up to this. Goes to the red team. See if you can bring it back and even the scores, and then I'll go over to the purples. Okay, listen up carefully, guys. Again, we're bringing cultures back into the framework here. Okay. Who was the first woman teacher in India? Okay. First woman teacher in India. I'm going to find it difficult to pronounce some of these, to be honest. So let's give it a go. Okay. A. Savitribai Phule. B. Sarojini Naidu. C. Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit. Or D. Sucheta Kripalani.
All right, red team, that's an easy one.
Yeah, that's easy. Everyone knows that.
Annelouise, what do you think? With the first answer?
Shall I do eeny, meeny, miny, mo again?
Savitribai? What was that? 1?
Happy.
Does it matter?
Say the sentence again.
So kind as to repeat the options one more time.
Yeah.
Eeny, meeny, miny, so it says D.
I'm just going to say the surnames, guys. Okay. So is it A. Miss Phule, B. Miss Naidu, C. Miss Pandit, or D. Miss Kripalani?
All right, 20 seconds is up.
I'm going with A.
For a while, have we?
A.
A.
Chris, sounds like
Okay,
A.
final answer is A.
The final answer is A, and the final answer is right.
Wow.
The first woman teacher in India is called, her name is Savitribai Phule. Okay, so again, you know, at the end of the day, what we're all learning is to be a bit more diverse with our knowledge. Personally, I only knew half of the answers to that quiz, but it was great to actually see and people work out just what was going on with the World Teacher Day quiz, guys. I'm just going to say a big thank you as we come to the end of the show. A big thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to thank our guests first of all, Kirsty from the UK and Hedreich from the USA. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate your insights. And then to the staff room faculty, the two team captains, Chris, Quinn and Sharifah Lee. Give it up to you guys. Well done. And then we're going to go over to Annelouise, Dr. Michelle, Cornell, Edgar, Timothy and Jacob. Thank you for joining us. And of course, to our co-host, a great job, Michael, for supporting. And Michael does a great job supporting me throughout the week to make sure that we always hit the type of show that we're looking for and the feel of it. Michael, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So, as we wrap up this show, we've had some really strong messages about being more diverse, not just culturally diverse, but also diverse across all different types of aspects. We are one race, and as we look towards celebrating World Teacher Day, we need to remember that we are all in this together. We are all in this together for our students and to create a better future. Next week, we are going to have episode 6, which is the EdTech episode. It's quite exciting to have two quite big titans in the global arena for this episode, Mark Anderson and Craig Kemp. They will be joining us next week, together with a whole host of other faculty joining us in the staff room. Please make sure you come along and join us. It's Sunday, the 11th of October, same channel, same time, same place. For all the teachers out there, once again, please consider the messages in this show. Be a little bit more diverse with how you approach things. Give some of these ideas a little bit of thought, and let's make the world a better place with how we treat our students and the people around us to create a global and inclusive community. Happy World Teacher Day, everyone, for tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your week. Stay positive and take care of yourselves, guys.